I mean, it sounds like you made it really playful as well. You lived it, you made it playful, which I think is a really cool thing. When I talked to somebody, I interviewed someone yesterday, and her title for her own business was something crazy and really cool.
Yeah.
And she just lived it. She's like, that's just who I am. And I'm really impressed when people really kind of embrace that piece of who they are. Now, I mean, we could have a whole talk about identity, because your identity should not be as a business owner, entrepreneur. It's much deeper than that, but
sure.
Yeah. So Spear the Puppy is, I mean, it's and I don't want to focus in on that because there's so much bigger picture here, but it's such a beautiful analogy. I've talked to my wife once. I was feeling like, I wasn't being paid attention to. And this is a good lesson, because you really should have conversations with your spouse about how you're feeling, even if it's totally ridiculous.
Yeah.
And I'm like, when you come home and you always comment about how Tioga, our dog, will run up and whack, and he, the whole body's going, and you have your little signs around the house about the whole body wiggles. I said, yeah, it would be really cool if, like, when I came home from a trip, that's what you were like. And I'm like, I know. And she just, she's just going about her thing. She's just so logical and has checklists. And I think it's so important to communicate the things that are of value to us. And by putting those, and it's the same with the business. This is really important to me. Having fun and treating every person like they're the best thing that ever happened in your life this very minute is a value of mine, and it won't work if you're not that person. And so do you have you taught that to business owners, and how has that been received?
Well, for starters, if there is a specialty that I have with business owners, I love husband and wife teams, because husband and wife team, that's my wife and I have been a husband and wife team, not a co-owners, but she's worked in all the businesses. But it's funny you mentioned that, because literally, I want to make sure I'm being honest. It's either yesterday or the day before. She comes in, and I have 2 Australian Shepherds that have no tails, right? And they call them wiggle butts, because instead of shaking their tail, they basically wiggle like little hamsters. And I was like wiggling sideways when she came in. But the reason I think it's so funny, because I'm Spirit of the Puppy. She's not necessarily Spirit of the Puppy. And so I know you're familiar with love languages, and I just call it out now. So we've sort of, I definitely occupy the more like probing of the two of us into our relationship between the two of us. But either way, right. And so I'll catch myself like, I'm a physical love language. I'm a words of affirmation love language. So I'm constantly touching her. I'm constantly telling her she looks great and she's said something really funny or whatever it is. And those things just bounce off of her like waves on a granite shore, dude. Because the things she likes are acts of service and doing things out of nowhere. And so sometimes we're getting to the point, again, guys, we got a 10-month-old, man. We're not 20 years in. I'm not claiming to have all the answers. I hate when people do that. But I'll get to the point where I'll grab her butt or I'll say something nice and I go, I should have done the dishes. Because that's the thing that's actually going to make her feel better. And I think that when you kind of identify that, my hat, it says chase your fears, work your weaknesses. If I'm really great at top game, I better be working guard. You know what I mean? So like, it's easy for me to use my love language on her. What's more difficult for me is to care enough about her to use her love language proactively and try to make her feel better.